Welcome to Sterling Visionary Voices, the podcast dedicated to bringing you diverse, innovative leadership insights and actionable strategies for success. Join hosts Laura McNeil and Bob Medeiros as they explore the art and science of role model leadership through thought-provoking conversations with real professionals. Whether you're a seasoned leader or aspiring to excellence, Sterling Visionary Voices is your guide to navigating the complexities of your leadership journey.
Hello and welcome to Sterling Visionary Voices. I'm your host, Bob Medeiros, and it's my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Mr. Roland Martinez. Now, Roland's been serving as the Deputy Director and Organizational Development Director at the Florida Department of Health in Broward County since 2008. He's responsible for directing and overseeing the performance excellence, workforce engagement, human resources, business metrics, and information technology sections of the department. Now, Roland holds a Bachelor of Science degree with a specialization in public administration and is a fellow of the National Leadership Academy for the Public's Health. Now, he currently serves as chairman of the board of directors for the Sterling Council. Roland, it is so nice to have you join us here on Sterling Visionary Voices.
Oh, Bob, it's great to be back. This is always fun. I always look forward to these. I think I've only done one of these, and the last one I did was for the South Florida Summit. So
right.
We've got me pitching the conferences, which I think is just fantastic. I think I'm in a unique position to do that. So, but thank you for inviting me, and thanks for being here.
Well, we're happy to have you, and I'm really personally excited to talk with you about the topic for today, as you mentioned, the Sterling Leadership Conference. Mm-hmm. So, with that in mind, let's assume that folks out there don't really know anything about the Sterling Leadership Conference. Why don't you share a little bit about what it's all about?
So, this is Sterling Leadership Conference has been going on. This is our 34th year. It isn't like, this just started yesterday or some kind of flash in the pan. It's been around for a very, very long time. The event it's more than an event. I would want to say that it's more than a forum. It's kind of a congregation of people with ideas, making their workplaces better. I mean, that's what I would say. They come to be able to get those ideas, to meet new people, right? Make new friends, make new connections with regards to their professional lives, and really kind of expand the experience for their customers, make their outcomes better, and try to just make their own leadership better. I mean, that's really where the game plays with regards to all of this. It's a congregation, like I said before. It's less of an event than a congregation of all of those ideas, which is fantastic. Now, one of the things that's really interesting about this conference is that there are 40 concurrent sessions. We've got national experts. We have folks that have become role models in their organizations with the Sterling process. Former Baldrige Award winners at the national level that come to see this. That come to participate and provide their insights as to what they do. And so 40 sessions, right, going on in the conference. We have two excellent keynotes, two excellent keynote speakers that are coming to this. I'll talk a little bit more about them and expound on that a little bit. But to be able to inspire excellence in the organization and in the participants, which is fantastic. The team showcase, something that you're near and dear to your heart, right, Bob?
You're right.
A team showcase where we have organizations who've gone through process improvements in their organizations, and they've followed this very specific process with regards to how they've gone and done that, and they get to go on stage and present what their journey was and what their outcomes were, and they do it in a really fun way. It's really fantastic, how they do that. It's kind of skit oriented, if you can see, we can talk about it that way. And so we've seen everything from the Wizard of Oz to NASA scientists sitting on stage on a chair looking up at the ceiling. And so it's really fantastic stuff that we've seen over the years with regards to that. It really, that part of the conference really is one of the favorite part of the conference for most participants. It's really exciting, and it really drives a lot of improvement into the organizations that participate because they get to brag for a moment about what they've done and how proud they are with regards to their process improvements, which is just fantastic. Speed learning. Speed learning, right? Everybody's heard about speed dating, but what about speed learning? And so, we have a whole section of the conference where, we have dozens of leaders that are presenting individually at tables, and you have what is it, like 15 20 minutes
15 minutes
where where they present their ideas on what they bring to the table, what they've experienced in their organizations, what approaches they may have in their organizations, and it's differing approaches all over the place. And so you can really kind of, in a very short period of time, get a lot of information about a good number of things that you would be interested in. I know that our organization's presented on that in the past with regards to what we do with business analytics, and so we're able to impart that information to folks that really need it. There's just a lot of networking opportunities to make connections and forge new relationships. That's what I would say. And even re-engage with old ones, right? There's folks that have been coming to the conference. I've been going to the conference for 25 years. And it's an opportunity to be able to get reconnected with folks that you may not see for an entire year, and talk about, what you've done, what improvements you have, what things that you've engaged in over the year, and where you are, with regards to your organization. And so it's absolutely fantastic from that perspective. And of course, I would be remiss, right, if I didn't talk about at least a little bit about recognition at the awards banquet on Friday night. That's when we have the opportunity. Some people have called that, some people have called that termed it the business prom, right? Because it's black tie. And so we take an opportunity to celebrate those role model organizations, those organizations that have engaged the process, those manufacturing organizations that have gone through and done the process with regards to the manufacturers. And we take an opportunity to be able to celebrate them, to celebrate those organizations, to hold up those role models and talk about, their successes with regards to engaging the process at either the Governor Sterling Award level, the Oglethorpe level, at the manufacturers level, to be able to talk about that, and really give them their props, for all intents and purposes, give them their props about, the journey that they've been on, because, there's nothing, you got to be proud about these things. There's nothing in your life that you're proud of that was easy.
Right.
And this is difficult, but it's a moment to be able to celebrate that, and be able to do that. One of the great things about this conference, Bob, is that we're consistently in the 99% range with regards to conference satisfaction of the people that do attend, for all 3 days of the conference. Even though there's some pre-conference activities, the conference is really 3 days. And so those folks have always been extraordinarily satisfied with what they get at the conference and what they experience.
Wow. Well, you've shared a lot of the great reasons to attend, a lot of the different things that are going on at the conference. Let me ask you this: who do you think should attend this conference? Are we talking leadership, quality professionals, or rank and file folks in the organization? Who's that core audience?
So I would begin with yes. So I think anyone can attend, right? I think that if you're interested in improving yourself, if you're interested in improving your organization, if you're interested in making things better, right, for your workplace, for your staff, I think that anyone can attend. So let me just begin with that. There's something here for everyone. No matter what it is that you do, right? So, primarily I would say that, established leaders or aspiring leaders, right? You could be a formal leader, right, in the organization that's doing that, but you could easily be an employee who's moving up and looks at their career and says, I want to be a leader one day. And so organizations can use this as a springboard to be able to do that as part of their leadership training. I would, I know that I've done that in the past. I've brought employees who are not formal leaders in the organization, but they're aspiring to be. And that provides them the framework, right? Because that's the framework that we use at the Florida Department of Health in Broward. We use Sterling as a framework, and that gives them the framework that they can utilize and come back, and they can get that language, and they understand that it's one of those things that they get from there, and they get to see that it's not something that we just do, right? That there are other organizations. I find my people. That's kind of what I'm thinking about there. I find my people there, and so they find a lot of the folks that I've brought have echoed that. Quality and organizational development and human resource folks, right? That's kind of a sweet spot for us with regards to performance improvement, with regards to the engagement of workforce, with regards to how you design organizations and how you build them. So those folks, it's kind of a sweet spot for them to be able to be there. Healthcare professionals, we have entire tracks that really affect healthcare professionals. So I think healthcare professionals, manufacturing organizations are also a great place to get an idea of how you manufacture the manufacturer. I'm providing a keynote on that at this conference with the Manufacturer Summit. And so, how do you build your organization, not just the product that you sell, but how do you build your organization, and what's the deliberative process behind that? I think is a great there's something in it for them. Of course, government agencies, so tax collectors, cities, county government, health departments, water management districts, public utilities. We've had over the years, we've had all of those folks that have come, and they've made the government better for their constituents, right? For their customer groups. They've been able to improve their organizations and serve them in a way that they may not have even thought of doing before attending the conference and getting those approaches, right? There's lots of approaches that you can use in your organization. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, education organizations, right? Higher education, middle school, school districts that deal with, lower level, lower grade education, high schools, middle schools, elementary schools. So those school districts, they come and they participate and they find that. So there's something there for all of those folks. That's a lot of sectors where you can do that. And it's really hard to find a conference where you can tie in all of those sectors into one place. I mean, I think that's where you are at.
Wow. Yeah, you've definitely shared that it is a broad-reaching audience space, I guess. Yeah. Hey, earlier you had mentioned keynotes. Would you care to share a little bit more on the keynotes?
Yeah, absolutely. So, on Wednesday when we open the conference, because the conference opens on Wednesday, we have, like I said earlier, we have a pre-con that goes on Tuesday for some folks, but that choose to participate there. You just got to go to the website and see what's going on there. But we open on Wednesday, and on Wednesday morning, first thing, we open up with Jason Lesandrini, right? And he's the assistant vice president of ethics, ACP spiritual health at Wellstar Health Systems, which is one of our role model organizations. They've got multiple awards. They're just fantastic. And we're extraordinarily lucky that they're sharing Jason with us. Jason is fantastic. If you've attended the conference, Jason is fantastic with regards to his presentations. He's just a wealth of knowledge with regards to that. This time he's his keynote is leading with purpose, beyond buzzwords to practical excellence. And so, that's going to be a really interesting. I've had conversations with him about what that is, about what's your purpose as a leader, not just, what your mission is, but what's your purpose, as a leader. And so I'm going to be really interested in hearing about that. And then, of course, on Friday, we have a closing keynote that closes us out for the week, and that is Karen Moore, right? And Karen Moore has been with with Sterling for all of its existence, right? 34 years she's been with us, and she's Karen Moore's the chief executive officer and founder of the Moore Agency, right? She's also, which is really good, is that she's also the first recipient of the John Piano Leadership Award, which was the inauguration of that was last year, and so she's the first recipient of that, and so we're going to get to hear about what her insights are now. Karen's talking about the future. The title for her session is "The Future Won't Wait." Leadership in an accelerated world. Okay. And so Karen's got a wealth of knowledge with regards to what's going on, with regards to AI, how those things are being brought into the world, and how quickly the landscape is changing for us as leaders. And so, that's, leaders have to adapt to those changing landscapes, to those situations as they come up. And so she's going to be talking to us, but I'm really looking forward to these two keynotes. They're really exciting speakers. With what they've presented in the past and where they've been, and I'm really excited about them presenting this year.
All right. Well, how do I say this? The world is kind of crazy right now, with budget uncertainty and all. What do you feel is that value proposition for attending this conference versus other kinds of leadership training?
Well, let's see here. I mean, we offer a lot of special, one of the things that we offer is that we offer a lot of special rates. Some of these conferences that you look at are multi-$1,000 to be able to attend. And so we've always tried to keep that in a different place to be able to attract, people that might be interested, but maybe don't have, the financial wherewithal to be able to pay some of those at some of those big national conferences that are out there, to be able to pay those rates. And so, we have special rates, we have special group rates that we provided, and so that's a big value, proposition there. We have special rates for students. We have special rates for, folks that are only attending part of the conference, like, folks that are attending the manufacturers conference, manufacturers summit. For the 2 days that we've got that. So that's a special reduced rate. So there's a lot of value there that we provide with regards to that. The other piece that we do that's kind of that I've found in conferences is kind of unique is that, when you pay for your conference rate, one of the things that we do is that we feed you. Right. And so it's included in your conference price on the days that we have lunch and the days that we provide breakfast in the morning. And so, dinner on your own, but, we want to give people the opportunity to be able to network on their own, especially where we are as far as the venue is this year. But I think that's a great value proposition. It is part of an organization that has to pay for this, having the ability to not have to put out, that cash to be able to make, to be able to feed people. It becomes a cost with regards to travel, and having that all inclusive is a great proposition with regards to that. But 40 sessions, where are you going to go and get 40 sessions?
Right.
For the money. I mean, if you had to bring in a consultant, right, into your organization to be able to train your employees, right, on just a specific topic, you could easily overspend what is available at our conference for a value with regards to the registration rate for the conference. I mean, even if you didn't have a group rate, we're in a much better place with regards to that, and being able to provide that value for all of that learning. There's just a ton of learning that you go. I mean, you really can't. I used to say that. This year we're having it at the JW Marriott Bonnet Creek, right? And so that's on Disney property, right? And I remember when I was growing up and going to Disney. They always said, you can't see Disney in a day. You need more than one day to be able to partake in all of the lands that are available to be able to go to Disney, right? And so it's the same thing with our conference. I mean, it takes because we change up the conference every year, because there are so many sessions that are there. There's always something to go to that you wouldn't have been able to see before. And so being able to make that happen is a big value proposition. It takes you can go a couple of years with going to the conference and continue learning over time. I think that's a big value proposition as far as that's concerned. And so, that's where we're at.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting because this is the first year that we'll be at the JW Marriott Bonnet Creek. So so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, last year we were at for the last couple of years we've been at the Hyatt on International, and that's always been, it's one of the that's a very, very big
Right.
very, very big facility. This one's a lot more intimate. We're the conference that's there this year, and so I really think that from that level of I think we're going to see a level of service out of the Bonnet Creek that we're not used to, which is great. So I'm looking forward to that. And the fact that we're on, like I said, we're on Disney property, and we're right near Disney Springs.
Disney Springs, right?
Some people bring their families, and you can come and you can go after the conference to be able to go out and see some of those places. I think is really fantastic.
Right. You don't have them programmed all night long so that the folks have an opportunity to explore.
Go see the Disney characters, and see what you got going on. But you can kill two birds with one stone. I think it's a great opportunity to be able to do that as well. And so we made a concerted effort to try to put the conference somewhere this year where it wasn't just where we weren't just the only destination. It was kind of a cooperative kind of thing to be able to get us in a place where people would be not only interested to come to see us, but also an opportunity to see something that maybe they've not seen before.
Yeah. And nothing against the last venue, but from the hotel room to the conference was like 3/4 of a mile. Okay, undercover, but you certainly got your steps in.
It was great. You could get your steps in. You could get your, you could meet your fitness goals at the last conference, and that was fantastic. It was always good. And the Hyatt was a fantastic. The Hyatt was a fantastic hotel. I don't want to say that it wasn't. I don't want anybody to walk away with the idea that it wasn't. Hyatt was a fantastic hotel. The venue was very nice. It was very centrally located on International Drive. There were a lot of options for people to go out to dinner at night. It was good. It was very good. And so we didn't make that decision lightly. We moved over to be able to deal with some other challenges that we have as an organization. But I think it's going to. I'm excited. I'm excited about going.
Well, for folks who have attended the conference in the past, there are some new exciting additions this year this year. I'm speaking specifically of that, and you had mentioned it already, this manufacturing summit, in addition to the agenda. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and your role in all of that?
So really interesting. I mean, it's the first year that we're putting on this manufacturing summit, right? Specifically designed for manufacturers that are engaged in the process, or maybe are interested in engaging the process, right? And engaging our process with regards to Sterling. But it isn't limited to that, right? The manufacturers that are coming just maybe wanting, just are interested in making their place a better place, and they're looking for something that they can do that, an approach to do that. So our own Phil Santonzi is leading this up with regards to the event. Like I said, it's specifically for manufacturers. So we're tailoring to that. My role, I'm providing the keynote for the manufacturers for this inaugural event. The reason I'm doing that is I have my own company that I've just started. I just started a manufacturing company, and so I'm uniquely positioned to talk about this in a specific way. And so, Phil and Dion asked me to do that, and I said absolutely. I'll when you're with Sterling, you just kind of you get what you offer yourself for. And so I was perfectly happy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
My answer to anything on that is usually yes. And so I'm providing that during this year. And it's really about, how, I've been able to work for, a couple organizations that have been role model organizations, right? That have been able to craft, be able to craft the organization in such a way that they were role model organizations. And so I have a unique perspective with regards to what it takes to put systems in an organization.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm doing it on my own, right? I'm doing it with my kids.
Right.
I'm doing it on my own. And I'm thinking about, a lot of manufacturers think about, just the product that they're building to begin with. And they go through and they improve their organizations over time and things come at them where, our organization is focused with the criteria itself on what we need to do. And while we may not need to do everything at once, we have a roadmap for how we're building the organization. And so the title of it is Manufacturing the Manufacturer. And we're talking about that because it isn't just about the product. It's about the entire experience, for the employees, for the customers, for the stakeholders, for the suppliers. It's about creating the organization from a high performance standpoint and how you go about doing that, and just my perspectives on what the challenges are and what my successes are with my corporation. Since I've created it, we're going to have a roundtable panel of manufacturers. They're going to be talking there about their experiences as well and what they're doing associated with that. And then we have another presentation from one of our manufacturing organizations. That's one of our role model organizations with manufacturers. They're going to be talking about the culture of their organization, how they crafted that culture in their organization, because it's so critically important. So this whole thing's going off on Thursday, the 28th, right? This is when that manufacturer summit starts. And it runs all afternoon. The main portion of this runs all afternoon long from 12 to 5. They're welcome to come in the morning to be able to, get whatever learning they can from the main conference. Mm-hmm. And they're welcome to come on Friday as well. Those 2 days are available to them to be able to participate in the full conference activities on Friday as well. So good value proposition there. It's a reduced rate for manufacturers to go there as well. So that's available on the website. And so it's a great opportunity. We're really excited about it. It's the first year we're doing it. I'm really excited about it. I know Phil's really excited about it. Hopefully the manufacturers will be excited about it as well. But if we maintain our track record with regards to satisfaction, I'm extraordinarily optimistic that this will be very well. We're putting a lot of work into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds exciting. Even the conference as a whole, seems to be a great opportunity for leaders, kind of at all levels of the organization, to really get an opportunity to interact with other leaders, who may be experiencing some of the same issues that you are, and share best practices and solutions. There's really a lot going on at the Sterling Leadership Conference.
Yes, there is.
So I understand that one of the other side effects of the main conference is that there are various certification tracks that they're in healthcare potential training certification for the hours. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on there.
Yeah, we've got a leadership track that's got a lot of different topics that are associated with it that are mixed in with some of the other tracks. We have an advanced leadership development track with 8 leadership competencies that we're specifically focusing in on with a pre track session that kind of gives you a 40,000 foot overview of what those competencies are, and then a wrap up at the end that you'll be able to speak to all of the speakers and ask them questions about any of the topics that they've presented on. So that was a little bit unique for us this year. With regards to that, we have an advanced managing for excellence track, which is also criteria oriented and process oriented. The Managing for Excellence track. We have the process management track for those folks who are interested in improving their processes, and using things like Six Sigma to be able to improve their processes. So we have a process management track associated with there. And then we have this with healthcare. We're providing CEUs specifically for those healthcare professionals that attend, nurses that as an example, nurses that attend that need CEUs for their licensure. We have 10 sessions geared for that, to be able to provide them with CEUs so that they can do their license. So another, you asked me before, value proposition, and that's another value proposition. You go somewhere, you pay for a conference, you get CEUs on top of it,
right.
Which is a really, really great deal.
Oh, very good. Well, Roland, let me ask you, is there any question that you think I should ask you before we end our conversation today? Is there anything else that you want to talk about along the lines of the conference?
I think that, if I had to say, something else, I've said a lot, but if I had to say something else, I would say that learning doesn't stop with the conference, right? That's one of those things. It's provocative, right? It makes you go back and think, how am I doing this? How am I making this work? For folks that are out there talking about, trying to make a decision as a leader on whether or not, where are you going to spend your training dollars? Everybody has training dollars.
Right.
There's the old adage of, if I train my people, if I spend money and train my people, what happens if they leave? And my answer to that is always, well, what happens if you don't train them and they stay? And so you got a much bigger problem on your hands.
Right.
And so, everybody's got training dollars, and how you spend those training dollars, especially in this day and age, how you spend those training dollars is an extraordinarily difficult decision to make. And so I think we offer a lot with our conference with regards to learning that organizations can really implement inside of their agencies, inside of their businesses, inside of those organizations. And so I think that's a real big deal, but it doesn't just stop there, right? For our conference, it doesn't stop there. We have blogs that we put out on a regular basis that are conference based, that are session based. And so some of our speakers put out those blogs on a regular basis. So we have that. We have podcasts like this, we're talking about the conference, but there are other podcasts that both you and Laura, do that bring, experts in their fields here to talk about the approaches and talk about things that folks can really engage with to be able to improve their organizations. We have the learning series that we provide on a regular basis, right? That's another piece. I think the last one that we did was based in ADLI and in approach deployment learning and integration, right? Which is, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's the secret sauce, with Sterling, and with Baldrige. And so we provide that learning series where we have experts that talk about that, master examiners, that talk about how those things work. And so, organizations can engage with that. I guess, the big thing for me is really, it's the best decision that you can make this year about your organization, is what I'll say. If you got to make a decision about it, this is one of the best decisions that you can make, if not the best decision you're going to make this year, about sending your staff to learn about how to make it better, how to do it better, and how to achieve the goals that you want to achieve as an organization. I think that your money can be much worse spent somewhere else.
All right.
That it's a good investment to be able to do that. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So, for the plug, I'm going to tell you that, you should go immediately after you hear this podcast, go out and you should go and get registered at the sterlingcouncil.org. And go there and see what we're all about. We have a special conference page that talks about all of the things that are going on, and all the sessions that are happening. And I would ask everyone to go do that and make the decision for yourself. Don't just listen to me. Make the decision for yourself on what you think you need to do to be able to improve your organization and provide your staff with the lifelong learning that they need.
Wow. Well, Roland, I truly enjoyed this discussion today. I'm certainly personally looking forward to attending the Sterling Leadership Conference, May 26th through the 29th. I want to thank you for share this event with our audience. Again, you can find more info on the conference at either the sterlingcouncil.org, which gets you to the Sterling Council page, but then you can click on thesterlingconference.com, which gives you all that fun stuff. Roland, thanks again for joining us today and discussing the Sterling Leadership Conference.
I'm glad to have been here, Bob. It's always wonderful to talk with you.
Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity to banter with you. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you all for joining us here at Sterling Visionary Voices. To hear other episodes, just go to sterlingvisionaryvoices.com. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Sterling Visionary Voices, Insights for Role Model Leadership from the Sterling Council. Discover more and connect with us at sterlingvisionaryvoices.com.